Good afternoon once again, everyone. I believe some of you may have joined the last Friday's Tech Talk series where we talked about AWS certifications in general and what certifications are more relevant for the kind of work that we do in the Lighthouse here, and what is the path to get there depending on where you are starting from, what your past experience and skill sets are. So we said data analytics specialty and solutions architect associate could be one way to get there. But there are other certifications in the AWS landscape that are still relevant. If that's the kind of work that you do, or you want to get to the data analytics specialty through a much broader experience and path, right? So we'll quickly skim through a few of that content so people have the context. But if you are interested in a deeper dive on what the AWS certification landscape looks like, I would highly suggest that you go through the presentation deck and the recording from last week that we posted on this Teams channel. And in case you have questions, do feel free to post them in the channel that we have for general certifications discussion so that any one of us who have experience can answer those. Today's session will be focusing on the professional level certifications. We'll talk briefly about the expectations from a candidate for these kind of certifications. We have about half a dozen people interested in these certifications when we last surveyed. The real number may be a few numbers more or less than that. So at the end of this session, if you still have some questions about whether this is the right certification for you, etc., again, please feel free to ask those questions in the forum. I mean, I don't mind being individually pinged. I am answering some of the questions one-to-one, but it would be great if those questions can be posted in the common forum so that you can get perspectives from everyone who have followed some of these paths before and can give you their experience as well. And those who have not yet thought of those questions can also benefit from that exchange. So with that, let's get started. So we looked at the entire set of currently available AWS certifications last week. We spoke briefly about each one of them or each category of them last week. The specialty and professional certifications are considered to be one of the toughest in the industry. So you do need good amount of relevant experience, both in terms of the domain area that they cover, as well as the specific tools or service and features that AWS offers on the table, and then combine it with a good amount of preparation, specifically with the kind of questions that are posed in the examination. That applies to all these certifications in general, but definitely the professional and specialty certifications are in a separate league in terms of how challenging they are for candidates. All that means is we will need to take a more deliberate approach in terms of making sure that we are in tune with what the exam expects. We dedicate enough amount of time to prepare for it, have a time-bound plan to reach there, so that whatever energy we pour into this is actually fruitful within a reasonable amount of time, right? So that's what we want to also facilitate through these various forums. And this half an hour, we are focusing on the professional certifications that you see in the middle, which are the solution architect professional and the DevOps engineer professional. Both of them being role-based certifications, they speak to the kind of specialization that you require when you are either playing the role of a cloud architect in any given project or engagement, or that of a DevOps engineer. These are senior positions that are typically played by people who are capable of synthesizing their deep knowledge of general IT concepts from their role area, as well as their specific features and how they integrate with each other in order to design, develop, implement solutions that solve a particular business problem. So a solution architect is typically looking very broadly across the AWS landscape and integrations with third-party tools in any typical enterprise environment that is present on the cloud, either natively or in a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud environment. And they are able to look at a particular business problem or a technical problem from the perspective of all the core pillars of what makes a solution well architected, as AWS would call it, looking at the cost aspect, security, reliability, performance, efficiency, and even sustainability in some cases, right? Even though that's not heavily tested in these exams currently. So if you have heard about AWS well-architected framework, there are 5 and now 6 pillars that AWS defines. And under those pillars, there are architectural principles and best practices that everybody ought to understand and follow, so that a solution meets all those criteria. It's not a hard and fast compliance checklist kind of thing, but it's more of a guidance that these are some of the considerations that you need to follow, and these are some of the best practices in this space that you need to follow in order to make your solution meet those expectations, right? So sustainability that I mentioned short while ago is a brand new addition to those pillars, to what was earlier 5 pillars of cost, reliability, operational efficiency, etc. And sustainability speaks to how energy efficient and less environmentally impactful are your IT workloads or architectures are, right? So that's a emerging concept, so you don't need to worry too much about it, but it's good to know where that is going, right? Eventually, we might see in future versions of the exam some of those aspects coming through, where technically equivalent solutions, but one of the solutions, if it gives you less carbon footprint, that could be a preferable solution from the point of view of sustainability for the planet, right? But now don't worry about too much when you are looking at it from an exam prep perspective for the short term. Now, then we said last week, once again, that data analytics specialty is highly recognized in the space that we operate in within Lighthouse. So that has a strong financial incentive associated in terms of Lighthouse super specialty. And in case you do not have deep experience either on AWS platform or on data analytics space, it may be a little bit challenging for you to attempt data analytics straight away without any prior experience in the space. So you might choose a slightly alternate path to get there. And we will talk about a few others in other meetings today, where we have study groups focused on data analytics specialty or solutions architect associate. But once again, we will talk about in that context the solutions architect professional and DevOps engineer professional, which are both options available for those who want to specialize in this space. So from a quick review of what the exam entails, these are 3-hour long exams which pose 65 to 75 questions that are either multiple choice or multiple response. And 10 of those 75 questions are likely to be unscored test questions, which AWS is considering adding to a future version of the exam. So you will not be scored on those questions, but you would not know which of those 75 are unscored ones. So you take all of them seriously and try to answer all of them correctly. There is no penalty for guessing wrong. So if you run out of time or if you are stumped by a particular question, don't just leave it blank. Take your best guess. So these are costly exams, but they are fully reimbursed by KPMG once you pass them. And if you have taken any past AWS examination, you will likely have a 50% discount voucher as a benefit of passing the previous exam that you can apply towards the exam fee when you are booking this exam. And before you book the exam, make sure that you select something called a 30-minute extension for English as a second language or ESL candidates, which is most of us, I believe. So it just grants you 30 minutes of extra time because English is not our native language and we take probably longer to read through questions and understand them. So that definitely comes in handy. And you have an option of taking this exam online or in the test center. Both of them have their pros and cons. And if you are a little confused about which one is the right option, do raise those questions in the channel and we'll do our best to answer and guide you. Typically you are expected to score around 750 on a scale score of up to a maximum of 1,000 points for the exam, but there are no section-wise limits. So you just need to achieve that 750 score across the board. If in a particular exam domain, if you do particularly bad, but you make it up by doing better in the rest of the areas, it's perfectly fine. It's not held against you. In terms of expected prior experience or knowledge, both these exams have equivalent associate level exams, which more or less cover the same project roles. but at a lower experience level where you are mostly expected to focus on a single AWS service and know that service. Whereas at professional level, you are probably looking at integrating multiple services in service of a solution or solving a problem. So we will also look at one example question later today. So that will give you a taste of what kind of questions to expect. And I believe some of the participants on this call today are probably already preparing for this exam and are familiar with this. So I'm probably going too fast, and I apologize for that. But we really want to dive into the meat of this study group and its purpose, which is meeting once a week at least and exchanging notes on how we are doing against the joint study plan, where we are facing challenges, asking questions, asking for help, and then even maybe taking a couple of challenging questions that cover the topics of that week's preparation material, right? And going through that jointly so that all of us are able to understand the nuances of some of the topics that we are supposed to have mastered during that week. So that's the cadence we want to get into. But because we didn't have a detailed overview of the exam before this, we are using the week one forum to also give that overview for anybody else who is not sure whether this is the right group to be part of on an ongoing basis this quarter, right? So again, for the DevOps professional exam, we are looking at first, these are the links available in terms of the official guidance, an exam outline, which is a 6-page PDF, and a few sample questions that give you an idea of what to expect in the exam. I will post this slide deck in the MS Teams channel under the DevOps study group, right? So you get all these links, so you don't need to worry about noting anything down. One thing important to note about DevOps professional exam, though, is there is a significant rewrite of the exam happening. And come 7th of March this year, you will see the new version of the exam. So if you're already somewhere along the way in terms of preparing for this exam and you are fairly confident that you can target it within this time frame, I would highly encourage you to go ahead and take the exam before 6th of March. That way, you will not need to worry about what's coming in the new version of the exam, etc. Some of the training material that you might come across may be slightly outdated or may not cover all the content that is required for the new exam. Having said that, it's not a night and day difference between the old version of the exam and the new version of the exam. It's still the same domains that are tested. It's just I think very old questions which are probably no longer relevant will be retired, and brand new questions covering brand new services in this space are going to be given more weightage and prominence. So it's kind of an evolution, just a step jump in terms of some of the content that got added. So if you briefly compare what's changing between the old and new exam outline, mostly you see a shuffling of the exam domains, slight tweaking of the weightage, but broadly it remains the same. So you have 6 domains in the exam covering SDLC automation, configuration management, etc. And you still have 6 domains in the exam on the right side, which is the new outline. Just that the weightages have been tweaked a little and the ordering has been tweaked a little. So again, nothing to worry about. If let's say I plan to do it by March, but I spill over and end up doing in end of March, that's still fine. It should not be like a wasted effort, right? Whatever we prepare against the old exam outline is still like 99%, if not more, relevant to what we are going to see in the new exam. A quick glance through the 6 domains as relevant to the DevOps engineer professional exam. You are going to be tested on your knowledge and skills in solving problems in these areas, right? You need to know about how to automate your software development lifecycle through various pipelines and be it CI/CD pipelines using a bit of open source technologies like Jenkins, or heavily using AWS native tools like Code Pipeline and all the Code Star applications, right? Your code commit, code build, code deploy, etc. So that's going to be the heavy emphasis there in the first domain, and that is the biggest domain of the exam. 1 in every 5 questions you can expect or more from this area. The second domain is configuration management infrastructure as code. Once again, here you are going to be heavily tested on CloudFormation, OpsWorks, Elastic Beanstalk, those kind of services and how to integrate with the rest, right? And third domain is monitoring and logging. So your CloudWatch and CloudTrail are going to be heavily featured in this. The rest of the domains after the first one are all roughly between 15 to 20% of weightage in the exam. So you can expect maybe 1 in 6 questions to touch these areas. And having said that, it's not that a particular question is going to be exclusively about a particular domain, right? Again, if I say monitoring and logging, it may not exclusively test you on only the monitoring aspects of a solution. You may still need to know how CloudWatch integrates with, let's say, code pipeline, or what kind of CloudWatch events can you expect from a code pipeline or a code commit for you to integrate into your solution. So there is a lot of interplay between all these domains. So you still need to know more or less everything that is covered by the entire exam outline to be able to confidently answer a question from any of these domains. The fourth domain here you see is policies and standard automation. That is reworded or rephrased as security and compliance in the new exam outline, but it roughly covers the same area. And the fifth domain is incident and event response. So how you are able to respond to things that are happening dynamically in a production environment, be it through auto scaling or disaster recovery and other scenarios. Again, you have a separate domain for those kind of scenarios of disaster recovery and failover, and implementing high availability and fault tolerance into your production systems. And this last domain is renamed as resilient cloud solutions in the new outline. So that's roughly the outline. Once again, if you go to the exam outline, you will have a more detailed explanation of what is expected from each of those exam domains. And we will talk about exam domain 1 shortly in this slide deck anyway. So that will give you also a taste of what to expect there, right? For this exam, there are a bunch of recommended trainings. This one, you may have heard it in the AWS circles a lot. This gentleman, Stefan Marek, is a very popular trainer on Udemy, and he has courses for almost every single AWS certification out there. And definitely for DevOps, his is one of the better courses and very popular due to it being very affordable as well. So definitely, I would suggest that you go ahead and purchase this. Once again, if you didn't know, once you pass these exams, KPMG will reimburse the expenses towards exam preparation, not just exam fees itself. So while this is reimbursable, try to make sure that you take advantage of coupons and sales wherever possible to reduce the spend, right? In case you are unsuccessful in your exam, this will be a cost on your pocket. So there is a slight risk there. Udemy exams are typically available around 500 to 600 rupees whenever there is a sale, and that is almost like 360 days a year, right? They're on sale. So don't pay the full price of what 3,000 rupees or more for these exams. And there are developer and associate level courses as well by the same trainer. So in case you want a more comprehensive package or you want to review some of those associate level concepts before diving headlong into the professional level material, you can go ahead and purchase those courses as well, and it will be good reference material for you even beyond the exam. Whenever you're not working in probably a particular area right now, even though you pass the exam, you probably need to come back to it when actually a use case presents itself. Then also those purchases can come in handy. This other one from Adrian Cantrell is a good one. Definitely, it's a very high quality training material that is well regarded in the AWS community. It's just that it is fairly expensive. It costs around $80 for a single course, or if you go for a package, you probably end up spending $100 to $200 for the package, right? And these are very lengthy courses. These courses each run into like 70, 80 hours of video content. He goes into a very high level of detail into a lot of fundamental concepts. Maybe if you're doing your solution architect, associate, and professional, he will teach you all about networking, routing, failover, maybe a BGP protocol, the OSI 7-layer stack. So all those foundational IT concepts will also be covered in a great detail before diving into AWS specific topics, right? So that's useful for somebody who wants that level of training. But it definitely takes a lot of energy and time to go through that material. Not to say that it's difficult to understand, right? He's a very good trainer, But yeah, choose wisely. If you do have the amount of time and money to spend on this, then definitely go for it. The material itself is definitely worth the price. He also has associate and associate level courses for developer as well as sysops. So once again, and they are available as a package, which is cheaper to get than buying these courses separately. So take a look at his website if you are interested. And then AWS themselves have typically something called an exam readiness webinars, which are around 3 to 4 hours worth of material, quickly covering the various exam topics, exam domain topics for that particular exam, and walking through a few sample questions. This is freely available if you sign up at AWS Skill Builder website. So somewhere towards the end of your preparation, I would definitely recommend you take a look at this webinar as well, so that you can assess yourself whether you are solid on all the concepts that are covered and can confidently tackle the sample exam questions that they show you. They also help you walk through those exam questions so that you can see what kind of logic or reasoning is used to arrive at the right answers. And this is completely optional. If you are the kind that enjoy reading books, there is a highly recommended book that is available online as an ebook or as a physical book that you can take a look at. Again, probably reading a book will take you longer. Depending on the targets you have in mind in terms of timelines to achieve this, pick and choose on what sources that you will use. There is a similar ebook that is published by this website called Tutorials Dojo. This is a much lighter read, and it's more of a summary cheat sheet kind of material that you would find in this ebook. Some people report that they find it useful. I have not seen this myself. So take a look, and if it seems worth it, maybe it's $10 to $12. I don't know for sure. So you can take a look at it, and if it appeals to you, you can try it out. But what is highly recommended is the practice exams that are published by the same website, Tutorials Dojo, by the gentleman called John Bonso. And these exams are currently probably the best available in the market in terms of mimicking the kind of complexity and the exam format for each of the AWS certification exams. So they give you at least 2 or 3 full-length practice exams for that certification, and you can assess yourself whether you are able to sit for 3 hours at a stretch, focus on these lengthy questions that you are going to get, and tackle all the exam domains confidently or not. And you will get an analysis at the end of the exam in terms of which exam domains you are strong in. You also get very detailed explanations of right and wrong answers through this. So that's all very helpful, and a lot of people have found it super helpful or even essential in their preparation for their ALBIS exams. So I would definitely recommend you get that. There are a few AWS white papers pertaining to the DevOps space that would be very recommended in terms of giving you the theoretical knowledge or conceptual underpinnings to follow some of the material that you will encounter during your prep, especially in case you are not very familiar or experienced in this space. Reading such a white paper will give you solid understanding there. So even if you don't have the patience to read a 300-page book, read a 10-page or a 15-page white paper published by AWS officially that covers each of these topics in a very structured manner, right? So that's very useful in terms of your mindset that you need to have to tackle some of the questions in that space. So that was a I know very fast run through of what to expect from the exams, right? Just in case people are joining us afresh without the background. But what we want to do, again, this is not something that I'm just putting out there and you have to follow, right? There's no mandatory compulsion in that sense. But assuming that you want to, you are fairly confident that you can attend this quarter, and assuming that you don't want to risk going into the new format of the exam in second week of March onwards, if you want to hit first week of March max, starting somewhere around now, right? This is probably the kind of study plan that you want to adopt, and that roughly puts one of the 6 exam domains each in the next 6 weeks, so that over those 6 weeks it's probably going to be a little bit of a crunch if we are doing a full-time job and then trying to catch up with all this material. So assess yourself in terms of whether that kind of time is available or not. Maybe take a look at the training material, how many hours of video is available in each of these exam areas. The recommended training material, like the Udemy course, is structured in the same lines as the study plan, right? Because it reflects the exam outline itself. And you probably need 1 week to 1 week to look at the practice exams and assess yourself correctly there as well. So that's the kind of plan that we have. Maybe after this meeting, you want to go through it offline as well, digest it and see if it makes sense. And if we have 5, 10, 15 people attempting this quarter, maybe we can jointly agree on a discussion forum in the DevOps channel, right? That this makes sense for us, and then we will adopt it, and then we will track against that, and maybe use weekends to catch up if we were not able to spend enough quality time during work days, etc. That way we are able to stay on track and stay on the same track, so that each of us are covering the same material each week. So the kind of questions that I have during this week, you probably have some answers to based on your understanding and preparation. So I'll publish this on the channel. Please take a look maybe, and then please actively engage on the channel. Yeah, this is the channel. If you are not already part of this Teams group, we publish the link to join this Teams group in multiple forums. But ping me if you have any doubts. And then the highlighted channel is where we will have conversations around DevOps engineer professional specifically. I recognize that we are probably 2 minutes away from the hard stop that we have. So we may have to skip through the sample question walkthrough and similar slides that I had put together for the solution architect professional exam. But the material is out there. I'll post the slide, which will have all the links for the recommended courses for the solution architect professional as well. So I will not spoil the question or the answer for you, but quickly I'll walk you through. Maybe when you open the slide deck, look at this question, try to solve it yourself, and then look at the answer. Similarly, we have slides talking about the 4 exam domains of the solution architect professional exam, a suggested study plan for the solution architect professional, where we don't have a 6 March deadline, so we'll probably be a little bit more relaxed there. The target here is to really hit the certification target this quarter, right? That's the kind of target that we want to hit. And that's why most of the study plans that you look at probably will have a target date in March. And it makes sense. If you are able to dedicate time, you will be able to get there. So it's not really impossible. So there are similar recommended and optional courses here, similar practice exams from tutorial disclosure that are recommended, exam preparation, exam readiness webinar from AWS. If you recommended white papers for AWS Solution Architect Professional, there is an official practice question set for both exams that you can get through Skill Builder. So if you don't find the links, please post on the channel, and we will give you those links. And then finally, all we want to make sure we leave you with is, if you have not signed up formally for the certification drive, there is an Excel sheet posted on the Teams channel. Please do enter your name there so the mentors know whom to address the communications and weekly meetings to. And then look at the proposed joint study plan, agree to it if you feel it makes sense, and make a personal plan aligned to that. Actively participate in the MS Teams channel, and then share your findings, help others if they have questions. And if you are interested, please do join us in these meetings as a presenter. Maybe take some example questions and walk the rest of the group through those questions, or bring up some quiz questions that are relevant to the exam, etc. That way we can make it a more engaging experience. I'm really sorry. I think I underestimated the amount of time that is required to run through this material. But again, we have a sample question and answer walkthrough. We can continue the discussion on the channel, but I'll have to hand over to the other meetings that are lined up right now at 4 o'clock. So they will have to close the session right now. This is recorded, so I'll post the recordings and slide decks in the channel. And let's meet again next week once we agree on the cadence and the study plan in the channel. All the best, team. Thanks for joining.